On the morning of Monday, April 22nd, 2024, 28-year-old Amara Cole disappeared from the apartment she shared with her new husband. She had been married for only 9 days. Her wedding dress was still hanging inside the wardrobe. Her handbag was lying on the living room sofa. Her phone was charging beside the bed. 2 plates of breakfast were sitting on the dining table. One had barely been touched. The front door was unlocked, but nothing inside the apartment appeared damaged. There was no broken window, no overturned furniture, no obvious sign of a struggle. But on the bedroom mirror, someone had written 4 words: "Stop looking for me." At first, investigators considered the possibility that Amara had left voluntarily. Then suspicion turned toward her husband, Daniel. People online studied his face, his voice, and every movement he made. Some called him a grieving newlywed. Others called him a liar. But 3 days after Amara disappeared, forensic investigators made a discovery that changed the entire case. The message on the mirror was not written by Amara, and underneath it, they found traces of another message that someone had carefully wiped away.
Amara Grace Cole married Daniel Cole on Saturday, April 13th, 2024, in the small fictional town of Belford. 72 guests attended the ceremony. Amara wore an ivory wedding dress with long lace sleeves and a simple pearl necklace that had belonged to her grandmother.
Daniel wore a dark blue suit. The couple had been together for 3 years. Their friends described them as quiet, hardworking, and deeply protective of one another. During the wedding reception, Daniel stood before their families and spoke about the first time he met Amara. His father had recently died, and Daniel had become withdrawn. Amara was the first person who managed to make him laugh again. "She reminded me that life could still be good," he told the guests. When it was Amara's turn to speak, she said Daniel had never tried to control her ambitions. "He does not ask me to become smaller so that he can feel bigger," she said. The guests applauded. To those watching, the marriage appeared loving and hopeful. Nobody imagined that 9 days later, Amara's wedding photograph would be shown on television beside the words. After the wedding, Amara and Daniel moved into a modest 2-bedroom apartment on Willow Street. They postponed their honeymoon because they wanted to save money. Daniel worked as an electrical technician. Amara had recently resigned from her position as an accountant at Hale Property Services. She told her family that she planned to start a small bookkeeping business from home. For 8 days, the newlyweds lived an ordinary life. They unpacked gifts. They argued playfully about where to place the new coffee machine. They visited Amara's mother, Ruth. They laughed about the large amount of wedding cake still inside their freezer. Then came the 9th morning. Daniel left the apartment at approximately 7:15 a.m. According to his statement, Amara stood at the doorway wearing a blue house dress and a white headscarf. She reminded him to return before noon. A furniture repairman was expected to arrive and fix one of their dining chairs. A security camera near the apartment building showed Daniel walking toward the bus stop. Another camera recorded him entering his workplace at 7:41 a.m. At 8:10 a.m., Amara sent a message to her mother asking for a soup recipe. At 8:32 a.m., she confirmed the furniture repair appointment. At 9:04 a.m., she opened an email sent from an unfamiliar address. Investigators later discovered that the email contained only one sentence: "We need to talk before you make a mistake." At 9:26 a.m., Amara's neighbor, Mrs. Evelyn Evans, heard footsteps in the corridor. Mrs. Evans looked through her peephole and saw a man wearing a gray delivery uniform. He carried a medium-sized cardboard box. His cap was pulled low over his face. The man said he had a delivery that required a signature. Amara replied that she had not ordered anything. A few minutes later, Mrs. Evans heard Amara say, "Please leave my home." A male voice answered, "We only need what you took." Mrs. Evans did not call the police. She later explained that she believed Amara was speaking to a relative or a coworker. She did not want to interfere in a private disagreement. At 10:40 a.m., Amara called her younger sister, Lena. The call lasted 1 minute and 48 seconds. Lena said Amara sounded distracted. Amara asked whether Lena was alone. Before Lena could answer, there was a noise in the background. Amara whispered, "Someone is outside." Then the call ended. Lena immediately called back. There was no answer. She tried twice more. At 10:52 a.m., Amara's phone was switched off. At 9:31 a.m., Amara opened her door. Mrs. Evans heard a short conversation. At 11:07 a.m., a security camera near the rear entrance of the apartment complex recorded a white van leaving the area. Mud covered part of the number plate. Daniel returned home at 12:09 p.m. The front door was closed, but unlocked.
Inside, the apartment was silent. 2 plates of food were on the dining table. Amara's phone was charging beside the bed. Her handbag contained her cash, bank cards, and identification. Several pairs of shoes were neatly arranged beside the door.
Her wedding ring had been placed near the bathroom sink. Then Daniel entered the bedroom. On the mirror, written in dark red lipstick, were 4 words. "Stop looking for me." Daniel called Ruth, Amara's mother. He did not immediately contact the police. Ruth and Lena arrived at the apartment. Together, they searched the rooms, the staircase, the car park, and the nearby streets. They called Amara's friends. They contacted local hospitals. They checked the church where she and Daniel had married. Nearly 6 hours passed before Ruth called emergency services. That delay would later place Daniel at the center of public suspicion. Detective Mara Bennett was assigned to the case. She had investigated missing person cases for 14 years. She knew that frightened people did not always behave logically. Some called the police immediately. Others searched alone because they could not accept that something serious had happened. But Daniel's 6-hour delay concerned her. During his first interview, Daniel admitted that he and Amara had argued the night before she disappeared. The argument was not about their marriage. It was about Amara's former employer. For several weeks, Amara had received anonymous emails and phone calls. Daniel wanted her to report them. Amara refused. She said the situation was complicated. She also said that going to the police too quickly might place them both in danger. Daniel accused her of keeping secrets. Amara replied that she was trying to protect him. They went to bed without resolving the argument. Daniel told Detective Bennett that when he saw the message on the mirror, he believed Amara had left because she needed space. Detective Bennett asked why Amara would leave without her phone, money, shoes, or identification. Daniel could not answer. Forensic officers searched the apartment. They found no evidence that Daniel had physically harmed Amara. They also found cleaning fluid on the bedroom mirror. Using specialized lighting, they discovered faint traces of an earlier message beneath the visible one. Someone had written on the mirror, wiped the words away, and then written a second message. A handwriting expert compared the visible words with Amara's notebooks, work records, and wedding cards. The writing did not match. The expert also noticed something unusual. The writer formed the letter G with a long upward stroke. Detective Bennett photographed it. Police examined Daniel's work records and security footage. He had arrived at work at 7:41 a.m. Multiple cameras showed him remaining there until 11:36 a.m. He could not have been inside the apartment when Mrs. Evans heard Amara speaking to the man in gray. That evidence reduced suspicion against Daniel, but it did not reduce public speculation. News reports repeatedly showed his face. People online claimed that he looked too calm. Others said he looked too emotional. Some said his decision to delay contacting the police proved he was guilty. Someone painted the word liar near the entrance of the apartment building. Ruth publicly asked people to stop. "My daughter is missing," she said. "We need information, not rumors." Destroying another person will not bring Amara home. On Saturday, April 27th, 2024, 5 days after Amara disappeared, an unmarked envelope arrived at the Belford Police Department. There was no return address. Inside was a photograph. It showed Amara sitting on a metal chair inside a bare room. She was wearing the same blue dress she had worn on the morning she disappeared. Her hair was untidy. Her face looked tired. But she was alive. On the back of the photograph, someone had written, "She knows why she was taken." The handwriting contained the same unusual letter G found on the bedroom mirror. Detective Bennett studied the photograph carefully. The wall behind Amara was covered with peeling green paint. The metal chair was rusted. In the lower corner of the image, part of a yellow warning sign was visible. Only 3 letters could be read. RAI. It could have been part of the word training. It could have been part of repair. Or it could have been part of railway. The photograph changed the investigation. Police now knew Amara had not left voluntarily. Detectives returned to her family and asked whether she had ever mentioned being threatened. Lena finally revealed something she had previously kept secret. During the final months of Amara's employment, Amara became unusually cautious. She checked windows at night. She changed her route home. She stopped answering unknown phone numbers. One evening, Lena saw her hide a small memory card inside a box containing old family photographs. When Lena asked about it, Amara said, "Some things are safer when nobody knows they exist." Police searched the photograph box. The memory card was gone. Amara had worked for Hale Property Services for 4 years. The company managed apartment buildings, renovation projects, and commercial properties across Belford. Its owner, Raymond Hale, was a respected local businessman. He donated money to charities. He sponsored youth programs. He frequently appeared at public events. 3 months before her wedding, Amara suddenly resigned. She told her family she wanted a fresh start. But her former colleague, Nina Scott, gave investigators a different explanation. Several months earlier, Amara had discovered suspicious payments in the company's financial system. Large amounts of money had been transferred from building repair accounts to companies that did not appear to exist. Some invoices claimed that apartment roofs had been repaired. Residents said no repair work had taken place. Other invoices listed electrical upgrades inside buildings that still had dangerous wiring. Amara believed the money was being stolen. She copied financial statements, internal messages, and payment records. Nina said Amara planned to speak to investigators after her wedding. She wanted to ensure that the documents were organized and protected first. Nina also told police that Amara believed someone was following her. Detectives examined photographs from the wedding reception. In one image, Raymond Hale could be seen standing near the back of the hall. He had not been invited. He was watching Amara and Daniel as they spoke with their guests. Detective Bennett questioned him. Hale said he only wanted to congratulate a former employee. He denied threatening Amara. He claimed she had misunderstood ordinary business payments. Phone records showed that Hale had made 6 calls on the morning of April 22, 2024. One of those calls was made to a prepaid phone registered under a false name. That phone connected to a tower near Willow Street at 9:18 a.m. Hale was detained for questioning. But investigators could not place him inside Amara's apartment or the white van. The prepaid phone had been destroyed. Without stronger evidence, Hale was released. Without stronger evidence, Hale was released. Without stronger evidence, Hale was released. Outside the police station, he told reporters that Amara was a confused young woman who had created unnecessary problems. Ruth responded publicly. "My daughter is not confused," she said. "She found something, and someone was afraid of what she knew." Investigators identified another possible suspect. His name was Marcus Vale. Marcus had previously worked as a security contractor for Hale Property Services. He had been dismissed in October 2023. after being accused of using company vehicles without permission. A security image from Amara's apartment showed that the man in the gray uniform had a similar height and build. Police examined Marcus's bank records. A large cash deposit had been made into his account on April 20th, 2024, 2 days before Amara disappeared. Marcus claimed the money came from selling a motorcycle. He could not provide the buyer's name. Police searched his apartment. They found gray work trousers, heavy boots, and 3 prepaid phones. Marcus admitted knowing Raymond Hale but denied abducting Amara. During questioning, Detective Bennett noticed that Marcus wrote with his left hand. The message on the mirror appeared to have been written by a right-handed person. That did not clear Marcus. It suggested that another person may have entered the apartment with him.
Marcus repeatedly asked detectives whether Hale had been arrested. Each time, he looked more nervous. Police believed he knew where Amara was, but they still lacked the evidence needed to force him to speak.
On the night of Wednesday, May 1st, 2024, 9 days after Amara disappeared, Lena received a message from an unfamiliar number. It arrived at 11:14 p.m. The message contained an 18-second voice recording. At first, there was only silence and breathing. Then, Amara's voice could be heard. She sounded exhausted and frightened. "Lena, do not trust the photograph. I was forced to sit there. I hear trains every hour. There is a bell before they pass. Tell Daniel I am sorry. This happened because I kept the files." A man's voice was heard in the background. The recording ended suddenly. Lena immediately sent it to Detective Bennett. Audio specialists examined every sound. They identified a train horn, a mechanical warning bell, and a faint public announcement containing the words, "North Platform." Belford had 11 locations where active railway lines passed near unused buildings. Only 4 were close enough to railway platforms for announcements to be heard. Police teams were sent to all 4 locations. The first building was empty. The second contained abandoned machinery. At the third location, officers found food wrappers, a thin blanket, and a recently broken padlock. Amara was not there. Detective Bennett examined fresh tire tracks behind the building. The tracks led toward an old railway maintenance depot approximately 3 kilometers away. At 2:36 a.m. on Thursday, May 2nd, 2024, police surrounded the depot. A white van was parked behind a storage shed. Mud covered part of its number plate. Inside the van, investigators found a cardboard box, gray delivery tape, and a receipt carrying Marcus Vale's fingerprint. Police entered the main building. The halls were dark and empty. Then an officer heard knocking behind a locked metal door. The door was forced open. Inside a small storage room, they found Amara sitting against the wall beneath a thin blanket. She was dehydrated, exhausted, and deeply frightened. But she was alive. The officers did not immediately question her. A paramedic introduced herself and explained each action before approaching. Amara was given water. A clean blanket was placed around her shoulders. She was told that she was safe. Her first question was, "Is Daniel alive?" Her second was, "Does my mother know you found me?" At 3:04 a.m., Ruth received the call she had waited 9 days to hear. Her daughter was coming home. Amara spent 2 days in hospital before giving detectives a full statement. She explained that the man in the gray uniform had knocked on her door and claimed he needed a signature for a delivery. When she opened the door, a second man stepped from the stairwell. The second man was Colin Reed, the operations manager at Hale Property Services. Marcus and Colin entered the apartment and demanded the financial files Amara had copied. Amara said she no longer had them. They forced her to write a message on the bedroom mirror, claiming that she had left Daniel. After Amara wrote it, Colin became concerned that investigators would recognize her handwriting. He wiped the message away with cleaning fluid. Then he wrote, "Stop looking for me." Colin was right-handed. Samples of his handwriting contained the same unusual letter G. Marcus drove the white van. Colin remained near Amara during the first several days. They repeatedly demanded the location of the memory card. Amara refused to tell them. She had hidden it inside the cover of her wedding photograph album at her mother's house. The photograph sent to police had been taken to prove she was alive, while also frightening her family. Marcus and Colin believed the photograph would make investigators focus on the missing financial evidence rather than the people responsible. On the ninth night, Amara heard the two men arguing outside the storage room. Marcus left a prepaid phone on a nearby table. Using a loose piece of wire from the blanket frame, Amara pulled the phone toward the door. She had less than 1 minute before the men returned. She recorded the voice note and sent it to Lena, whose number she knew from memory. That 18-second message led investigators directly to the railway area. Marcus and Colin were arrested. When confronted with the van, fingerprints, phone records, and Amara's testimony, Marcus agreed to cooperate. He said Raymond Hale had ordered them to recover the financial evidence before Amara could speak to the authorities. Marcus claimed that Hale instructed them not to physically harm her. Detective Bennett replied, "You took away her freedom, terrified her family, and made her believe she might never return home. Harm had already been done." Police searched Hale's office and residence. They recovered deleted emails, false invoices, and internal messages. One message sent to Colin shortly before the wedding read, "Resolve the accountant problem before she talks." The memory card was recovered from the wedding album at Ruth's house. It contained financial records showing that Hale Property Services had stolen millions from building repair funds. Residents had paid for safe roofs, working elevators, and electrical repairs. Much of the work had never been completed. Hale, Colin, and Marcus were charged with kidnapping, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and financial crimes. The public celebrated Amara's rescue. But for Amara, being found was not the end of the experience. News crews waited outside the hospital. Photographs taken during her rescue were shared online. Some people added dramatic music. Others invented details that had never happened. Amara's family asked the public to stop circulating the images. In a written statement, Amara said, "I survived, but I am still a human being. My worst moment should not become someone else's entertainment." She did not immediately return to the apartment on Willow Street. She stayed with Ruth. Unexpected knocks at the door frightened her. Train horns disturbed her sleep. At times, she blamed herself for not reporting the threats sooner. Her counselor reminded her that responsibility belonged to the people who chose to abduct her. Daniel visited regularly, but did not pressure her to return home. Their marriage did not continue as though nothing had happened. Amara admitted that she had hidden the danger because she believed silence would protect Daniel. Daniel admitted that fear and confusion had caused him to delay calling the police. They began rebuilding slowly, one honest conversation at a time, one safe day at a time. Ruth blamed herself for failing to recognize her daughter's fear. Lena wondered whether she should have reacted differently to the final telephone call. Detective Bennett reminded them that people often judge themselves using information they only learn afterward. Their guilt was understandable, but it did not belong to them. The trial began in March 2025, nearly 11 months after Amara's rescue. Marcus pleaded guilty and testified against Hale and Colin. Colin's lawyer argued that Colin had been following instructions. Prosecutors replied that instructions did not remove personal responsibility. Raymond Hale denied organizing the kidnapping. He claimed Marcus had acted alone and was now lying to reduce his sentence. Then prosecutors presented the phone records, the deleted messages, the financial documents, the unusual handwriting, the wedding photograph showing Hale watching Amara. Finally, Amara entered the courtroom. She described the knock at her apartment door. She described the message on the mirror. She described the storage room near the railway. She did not shout. She did not exaggerate. She simply told the court what had happened. When Hale's lawyer asked why she had not reported the fraud earlier, Amara answered, "Because I was afraid. Fear delayed me. It did not make what they did acceptable." Hale and Colin were convicted. Marcus also received a prison sentence, although it was reduced because of his cooperation. Hale Property Services was dissolved. Money was recovered. Residents affected by the financial fraud received compensation. On April 22, 2025, exactly 1 year after her disappearance, Amara returned to the old railway depot. Daniel, Ruth, Lena, and Detective Bennett accompanied her. The building was scheduled for demolition. Amara did not enter the storage room. She stood outside while a train passed in the distance. Her hands began to shake. Daniel reached toward her. Then he stopped and waited. Amara took his hand when she was ready. Later that year, Amara began supporting families of missing people. She spoke about the damage caused by online rumors. During her disappearance, strangers treated Daniel like a convicted criminal before evidence existed. Others blamed Amara for opening her apartment door. Some people used her suffering as entertainment. Amara reminded the public that real missing person cases involve real families. Sharing verified information can help an investigation. Spreading accusations can destroy innocent lives. At a public event, a reporter called Amara a hero. She gently corrected him. "I was afraid every day," she said. Courage was not the absence of fear. It was surviving long enough to tell the truth. Amara Cole disappeared on April 22, 2024, 9 days after her wedding. Her phone was left beside the bed. Her wedding ring was near the bathroom sink. A message on the mirror told her family to stop looking. Some people believed she had left willingly. Others immediately blamed her husband, but the truth was connected to financial evidence she had tried to protect. Amara was found alive on May 2, 2024. She was found because her family refused to give up, because investigators followed small details, and because Amara used one brief opportunity to send an 18-second message. The strange letter G connected the bedroom mirror to the photograph. The sounds of the trains narrowed the search area. A fingerprint inside the van helped confirm the suspects. No single clue solved the entire case. Every small detail mattered, and behind every piece of evidence was a woman who deserved more than to become a headline. She deserved safety. She deserved dignity. And she deserved time to heal. Sometimes the smallest voice can break the loudest silence. And sometimes finding a missing person is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of helping that person live again. What did you first suspect when you heard about the message on the mirror? And at what moment did you realize Daniel might be innocent?